No contact relapse.
How to deal with relapse. Going no contact with a narcissistic abuser is like escaping from prison. You finally break free of their control and toxicity, only to get lured back in by the false hope that this time will be different. In this video, we'll explore the slippery slope of no contact relapse, why it happens, how narcissists reel you back in, and most importantly, how to reclaim your freedom after a setback. Expect turbulence, but trust you have the power to soar above the storm. Save this for when you think you're about to break no contact. By the end, you'll understand exactly why no contact works and how to avoid relapse into the narcissist's grip. Please share your experiences dealing with hoovering behaviors in the comments which patterns ring true. If you feel hooked and can't understand your attraction, I highly recommend watching what forces the narcissist to hoover after discard. The link is below. Let's explore why no contact relapse happens and how to break the trauma bond for good. I want to help you close this painful chapter. You deserve freedom.
Why we falter.
Ending ties with a narcissist can feel like escaping a riptide no matter how hard you swim toward shore. The undertow drags you back out to sea. When our defenses are down, the allure of their false comfort pulls us under despite the inevitable consequences.
Loneliness.
After losing your primary attachment figure, their absence leaves a gaping emotional void. You desperately miss the drug like highs of love bombing and validation. For example, one woman found herself plunged into profound loneliness after her partner's abrupt discard. The deafening silence and loss of intimacy left her tempted to renew contact, if only to be praised and admired again. Having grown accustomed to waking up to loving texts every morning, one man struggled to fill the emotional emptiness of his days after going no contact. He secretly longed to receive that external validation once more. One woman described the gnawing loneliness as like a death without a corpse to mourn. Craving the illusion of love again, she constantly checked her phone, hoping he would hoover her.
Rumination.
Obsessive thoughts about the relationship cause doubts and unanswered questions. You hope reconnecting will provide closure. For instance, one woman endlessly analyzed their final blow-up, wondering if she had provoked his cruel reaction. She thought gaining his perspective could bring insight. Desperate to understand why things decayed, one woman compulsively scrolled through old messages, seeking the exact moment intimacy died. She hoped a heartfelt discussion might revive it. One man rehashed every memory and conversation for hidden clues, believing a profound talk could finally provide closure so he could move forward.
Hoovering.
Through manipulation, the narcissist gradually breaks down your resistance, despite best intentions. For example, though she had blocked him everywhere, one woman's resolve crumbled when he exploited her compassion with a suicide threat, left her racked with worry. Despite her misgivings, she finally answered. Whenever he sensed his partner emotionally withdrawing, one man would ensure he coincidentally appeared with flowers and vows of change. Her firm stance slowly dissolved over time. One woman's resolve shattered after her narcissistic mother left tearful voicemails about fabricated health issues. She felt obliged to offer support.
Illusion of change.
After months of no contact, their repentant and idealized persona appears convincing proof of transformation through therapy. For instance, seductively vulnerable and seeking forgiveness, one woman persuaded a man that consistent counseling had created self-awareness. He cautiously believed change was possible. Spiritually enlightened in words and actions, one man convinced his partner months of retreats had shifted his priorities. She discounted residual concerns. Passionately advocating for couples therapy, one man persuaded his partner they could reignite intimacy. She hoped it would make him more emotionally available.
Obligation.
Mutual connections pressure you to be the bigger person and reconnect. The narcissist exploits this sense of duty. For example, despite years of abuse from her husband, their child guilted one woman about robbing her of a whole family. She reluctantly agreed to meet him. Sympathetic colleagues urged one woman to forgive her narcissistic bully of a sister to ease office tension. Wanting to take the high road, she agreed. The parents of one man demanded he put his brother's verbal attacks behind him and make nice at the reunion, scolding him as petty and immature. Eager to please, he caved. During lapses in judgment, we forget why no contact is essential. Tragically, the sweet illusion always comes at an even higher cost.
Trauma bonding.
The narcissist conditions you to crave the highs of intermittent reinforcement. When they periodically withdraw affection or discard you, it keeps you chasing validation. This creates an addictive trauma bond that's hard to break. For example, one woman knew her partner treated her horribly, but when he occasionally showed warmth, she felt electrified. She became convinced the good side of him proved redeemable. The euphoric rush of being hoovered back in after harsh devaluation left one man with renewed hope. He felt their connection must be profound to elicit such intense emotions. One woman described it as a form of Stockholm Syndrome when her partner displayed brief kindness following cruelty. She felt more strongly bonded to him.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Having invested so much in the relationship, you struggle to accept it was all for nothing. Walking away requires admitting failure. For instance, one woman justified returning because after dedicating years as a dutiful wife, giving up would mean wasting her life's meaning. This kept her trapped. Having financially and emotionally supported his partner through school, one man felt too much loyalty to acknowledge her lack of reciprocity. He minimized the imbalance. One woman clung to the relationship despite increasing disrespect because she had sacrificed friendships and family relations to prove her commitment.
Unhealed codependency.
You subconsciously believe you can fix the narcissist through enough love, caretaking, and understanding. For example, despite constant criticism, one woman redoubled her efforts to become the perfect partner. She hoped being good enough would secure love. One man prided himself on nurturing emotional intimacy with his stoic partner. When she devalued him, he felt compelled to reconnect and revive it. The more cold and indifferent her partner became, the more one woman tried appeasing him through servitude. She was determined to break through.
How the narcissist ensnares you.
Initially, the narcissist showers you with attention and validation when you reconnect, moving rapidly into love bombing. They are on their best behavior, willing to discuss changes to keep the relationship healthy. This is known as the repentant phase. You feel hopeful, thinking their sweet words and promises of therapy signify transformation. In reality, this is a perfectly crafted act to hoover you back into the abuse cycle. An auto mechanic described his no-contact relapse after divorcing his narcissistic wife. When I let her convince me to meet up, she cried about making things work for our kids' sake. She used all the right buzzwords she learned in therapy. I caved because I wanted to believe her capable of change. Once the narcissist secures your renewed trust, their false persona evaporates. Now devaluing begins. They nitpick your flaws, share doubts about the relationship, and resurrect past grievances. Their presence feels oppressive again. As the auto mechanic recounted, literally overnight, she became cold and critical, giving me the silent treatment for no reason. I was walking on eggshells within a week. When I confronted her, she exploded with rage about how ungrateful I was for the chance to reconcile. The abuse rapidly escalates again without the repentant facade. The narcissist feels entitled to mistreat you after you caused this pain by initially leaving.
Why the cycle continues.
Despite the restored misery, you become trauma bonded to the narcissist once again. Like an addict, you delude yourself into thinking you can manage their cruelty this time. The narcissist conditions you to crave their intermittent reinforcement. After the love-bombing honeymoon, they periodically withdraw affection or discard you to keep you chasing validation. This causes extreme cognitive dissonance. A domestic violence counselor described her client's struggle. He knew she treated him horribly, but when she occasionally showed warmth, he felt electrified. He became convinced the good side of her proved redeemable. But it was just another manipulation. Your self-esteem slowly erodes from the narcissist's projections until you believe devaluation is warranted. The psychological conditioning is incredibly hard to overcome.
Escaping the vortex.
Though demoralizing, Relapse teaches pivotal lessons about the necessity of no contact. Here are tips to escape the narcissist's vortex again. Immediately re-implement no contact. Block them on everything. Avoid any place the narcissist may show up, even if it limits your activities. Prioritize safety. Tell close friends and family you are recommitting to no contact for support. Document all hoovering attempts and harassment in case legal action becomes necessary. Seek counseling to understand your attraction patterns and heal trauma bonds. Fill your schedule with activities that energize you and foster self-worth. The narcissist will escalate abuse when supplies cut off again. Expect theatrics including threats, love bombing, bad-mouthing you to mutual connections, or material destruction. Stay resolute and avoid reacting. A teacher described implementing no contact after leaving her narcissistic fiancé when it was clear I wouldn't budge. He smashed the windshield of my car with a golf club, then started sending gifts and poetry. I focused on his actions, not words.
Progress over perfection.
Understand that relapse does not indicate failure or weakness. Like any addiction, escaping narcissistic abuse rarely follows a linear path. Small setbacks provide valuable lessons about your patterns. The domestic violence counselor explained, I tell clients to view relapse as necessary data points. They reveal what vulnerabilities to shore up. Perfection is impossible. Focus on progress between each slip. On average, it takes 7 attempts for a victim to leave for good. Have compassion for yourself and others struggling. What matters most is your overall trajectory towards freedom. A nurse who left her narcissistic husband recounted, when the second honeymoon ended and his cruelty resumed, I refused to judge myself. Sure, I was terrified, but I knew I'd escaped before and could rely on those strengths again. Self-trust was key. Each day away from the narcissist builds your empowerment. Their attempts to hoover you back and ultimately fail as you grow more indifferent to their machinations.
Starving the beast.
By maintaining no contact despite turbulence, you progressively starve the narcissistic beast. Deprived of supply in the form of reactions, attention, and control over you, their grip loosens. A therapist described a client estranged from her narcissistic mother. When her daughter didn't cave after 6 months of harassment, the mother ran out of steam. She wasn't getting narcissistic supply. Eventually, she found new targets. No contact forces the narcissist to confront the harsh truth they irreparably damaged their most reliable source of supply. Their puppet cut the strings. This devastates the fragile, narcissistic ego. Meanwhile, your self-knowledge and intuitive trust deepens with each day removed from the narcissist's distorting projections. Their assessment of you loses relevance. A domestic violence advocate said of her formerly narcissistic friend, by a year of no contact, she felt insignificant to me. I centered my worth instead on my own values. Her petty triangulation and drama seemed childish. Keep this contrast in mind during weak moments. Remind yourself how peace and self-compassion fill the void left by the narcissist.
Integrity over idealism.
Victims often return seeking closure or a long overdue apology. But reconciliation fantasies overlook the narcissist's fixed emotional limitations. They are incapable of remorse, empathy, or self-awareness. The teacher who escaped her fiancé recounted, I realized chasing closure was pointless. I had to accept this person was disordered, and no conversation would provide answers. Likewise, if children are involved, parallel parenting is safest. The narcissistic co-parent exploits any unnecessary interaction. Keep communication logistical. Disengaging fully preserves your sanity. You owe the narcissist nothing. Their disorder is not your responsibility to fix or manage, so they feel comfortable. The domestic violence advocate explained, I remind clients they don't have to light themselves on fire to keep the narcissist warm. Put on your own oxygen mask first. True integrity requires acting in alignment with reality, even when it disappoints our ideals. No contact lets you rebuild integrity after the narcissist distorted your boundaries.
How no contact ultimately succeeds.
Despite turbulence, maintaining no contact almost always works if you stay the course. The narcissist ultimately accepts defeat once they see you cannot be hoovered back under their control. A survivor recalled her narcissistic former boss. After 6 months of rejecting his calls, he gave up and found new targets. I know he hated losing his favorite supply source, but my indifference left him no moves. The narcissist's reactions are merely noise signifying the loss of power and control over you. Like a child's tantrum, their outbursts subside when they realize they lost the game. A therapist described her narcissistic mother's reaction to estrangement. She wailed about abandonment to anyone who would listen, then moved on to seducing my brother. She knew I was a dead end for supply. While the narcissist scrambles to replace you, you'll rediscover your inner peace and self-worth. Their absence leaves space for what truly matters, meaningful bonds that nurture your spirit. Though demoralizing when it happens, Relapse teaches pivotal lessons about implementing no contact. Maintain compassion, but don't let missteps deter you from escape. The narcissist exploits any doubt or obligation you feel, so assert your freedom fully. Their disorder will never loosen grip on its own. Only your unwavering commitment can break free. Each small act of resistance builds your empowerment. Know your worth, stay strong through turbulence, and trust you have the power to take flight. The open sky awaits. What did you love about the false persona that kept you addicted? Please open up so we can support healing. If you have questions, send me an email and I'll create a personal video response. I hope you found support in the shared experiences here. Please comment with your story to help others heal. If you still struggle with no contact, don't hesitate to reach out for coaching. I want to continue this conversation to bring narcissistic abuse out of the shadows. Your financial contributions make that possible through donations or patronage on this channel. All monetary support is used specifically for resources to spread empowerment and keep these stories heard. Don't forget to subscribe and press the thanks button if these videos have eased your pain. Your generosity allows me to be here together. We can help survivors rediscover their wings after narcissistic abuse grounded them for too long. I believe in this community's resilience.